Back to Capitol Hill, where it is a busy morning over there. Some new and old faces filling the halls as the incoming class of members of Congress arrive for their first briefing. That's actually happening right now, covering all kinds of things, including COVID, security issues. We're keeping an eye out in the other box on your screen for Speaker Nancy Pelosi's remarks that are set to start any minute now. It looks like that briefing might be wrapping up with people leaving there. With me now, Democratic Congressman Elect Jamaal Bowman of New York. He won the seat held by 16-term Congressman Elliot Engel. Congressman Elect Bowman, thank you very much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you're in your office there, I think, on the Hill. First impressions, how's the briefing? How are your first hours there on the Hill?
Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty overwhelming. Obviously, they're throwing a lot of information at us, but I'm just trying to be a sponge, take it all in, get to know my new colleagues, introducing myself to a lot of people. It's great to be here with recognizable faces and friends like Mondaire Jones and Richie Torres and others. So far, so good. We're off to a good start.
Let me ask you about some of the issues that I think you want to work on there. President-elect Biden is calling on Democrats and Republicans to, in his words, decide to cooperate, basically. That was part of his victory speech after he won the presidency based on those projections. Are you ready, then, to do that? Are you ready to work with Republicans in the House where Democrats will hold a majority? And if so, on what?
You know, the bottom line is this is the people's house, and it's our job to meet the demands and the mandates and the needs of the people in our districts. And I think if we stay focused there, if we stay focused on what people are struggling with, particularly during the era of COVID, you know, people are struggling with housing insecurity, they're struggling with unemployment, struggling with food insecurity. Our education system has been crippled. Healthcare has so many needs. If we stay rooted in the needs of our people, we'll be able to work in collaboration with people across the aisle and people within our own party. So I look forward to doing that. We have to do that. We have to rebuild our nation and rebuild our economy in a way that really meets everyone's needs. So I agree with President-elect Joe Biden. It's time to get to work. It's time to put the differences aside and meet the needs of the American people.
I don't have to tell you, of course, about the comparisons to one of your fellow New Yorkers, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And so I wonder, as you're moving now into focusing on some of the issues that you just named, really critical issues that you want some action on, are you coordinating strategy, for example, with other members of Congress like her? And have you had those conversations yet?
Well, first of all, if I have the first 2 years as successful as AOC, I will be happy and proud and very productive as a member of Congress. And yes, I'm in consistent communication with Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, consistent communication with all members of the squad, if you will. But I'm making new friends and connecting with others as well. Today, I had conversations around early childhood education and adverse childhood experiences and their impact on communities of color and low-income communities with a new rep-elect from Indiana. So it's that sort of collaboration across the country and across the aisle, as you mentioned before, around the issues that matter most, that I'm most excited to get started on. So yes, it's happening. It's beginning. It began even after our primary here. We started to have those conversations because they're necessary.
I mentioned at the top of this segment here, I showed our viewers that we're also waiting to hear from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She's doing her news conference there any minute elsewhere in the Capitol from where you are. Are you hearing of any potential challenges to her reelection to the speakership? And do you plan to support her reelection to the speakership?
I have not heard of any challenges. I do plan to support her reelection. I've had a few conversations with Nancy Pelosi since we won our primary. Those conversations have been great. I love her focus, again, on early childhood education and universal child care. This is an opportunity to be bold and visionary, and it seems like the speaker is ready to do that. And I'm looking forward to working with her 100% on doing that.
Quickly, before I let you go, you mentioned the potential for COVID relief. I think we had a live report from New York State earlier in the show. Obviously, you know that your state now is putting in place these new restrictions, et cetera. What are the chances for any kind of a COVID relief bill as soon as you get sworn into the new Congress? Is that top of your list, top of your priority list here, given where the pandemic is right now?
It's top of my priority list. It's top of President-elect Joe Biden's priority list. It's the top of all of Congress's priority lists, unfortunately, except for Mitch McConnell. He continues to block any legislation that will lead to relief. It's unacceptable. Millions of Americans are impacted by this. Hundreds of thousands have died. We need leadership, and we need policy leadership from Mitch McConnell, not the blocking of a stimulus package that will continue to hurt Americans. So we're all ready to go, and we need a huge focus on state and city relief.
Okay.
As well as $2,000 per month stimulus check for the American people.
Congressman Elect Jamaal Bowman, thank you so much, sir, for being on the show this morning and for taking the time out of what I know is a very busy day for you there on the Hill. Appreciate it. We want to get to a couple of pieces of breaking news.
Notice that he talked about at the very end of the interview a $2,000 a month stimulus check for every American, right? Check out other parts of the world. They're doing that, all right? And they're keeping their economy going. So, listen, I'm not mad at Wall Street. Wall Street got their money. They got their trillions, you know, the businesses. Now let's take care of Main Street, the average ordinary American. They need help, all right? And that's what the government is there for, the general welfare, right? The general welfare. It's in the Constitution. Let's help out all of the American people equally. And everyone stay safe. Wear your mask, and wash your hands. Be careful out there. Thank you so much for being on my YouTube page and channel. And of course, Congressman Jamaal Bowman is part of what? The Justice Democrats, the squad, Justice Democrats. Others, Justice Democrats. A whole bunch of them were elected. They're called Justice Democrats. Look that up. Bye.